Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Adrian, and in this video I'm going to show you a way to make it a lot easier to hear the bass in a song. Maybe you're trying to learn a bass line or you're trying to recreate a beat, and I know that sometimes it's difficult to hear exactly what the bass is doing. So let me show you exactly what we're going to be doing. So in this case, I was trying to recreate this song called Sigo Aquí by Arisa or Arisa. I'm not sure if it's in Spanish. This is Studio One, by the way, in case you don't know what DAW I'm using. But what I'm going to show you can work with any DAW. It doesn't matter what you're working on. So let's take a look at the beginning of the verse. And I hope I don't get a copyright strike or something. So I'm not gonna play very large sections of the song, just to be safe. But the bass is not very loud in the mix. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're going to add an EQ. We're going to add a high cut or low pass. It's the same thing. And we're going to cut a lot of the top end. Pretty much everything above 100 hertz or so. So let's listen to that. We're going to cut a little bit more, so maybe like 36 dB. And already we can hear the bass a little bit better. Now, the next part is to add saturation or distortion. So I'm going to add IBGI, and we're going to absolutely destroy the signal. And there is the bass. I'm going to add a second distortion just because preamp is a little bit smoother. It sounds less like farts. And already we can hear very clearly what the bass is doing. We can also hear the kick drum. So now what I start doing is I take my bass VST. In this case, I'm using the one from Spitfire Audio. I'm just going to draw a MIDI track and I'm going to start copying the bass. Bum, bum. Let's say so we start drawing. It should be one octave lower. And I know that it's gonna go down. Bum, 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 bum. It's an F. And you can see that I'm already in the F major scale because I was doing this yesterday. That's why I kind of know what I'm doing. This is the process that I follow to figure out the bass. I add a filter to isolate the bass, and then I add distortion to make it easier to hear that low end. Obviously, I'm skipping a section here because this is just for demonstration purposes, but now I'm going to show you why this works. The short answer is when you add distortion or saturation to something, it's easier to hear that. Like when you're mixing and you add saturation or distortion to the vocal or the bass, suddenly it's easier to hear that element in the mix. But why is it? Let me show you. Here I have Vital, which is a free synthesizer, and we're going to be using a sine wave. If you're watching this video on a phone, you can't hear that, but if you're wearing headphones, you should be able to hear those very low frequencies. Now, high frequencies are much easier to hear than low frequencies. In theory, all of those notes are at the same volume. They have the same amplitude of the wave, the same size. But the frequency of the wave is very low on the low frequencies. Just by their nature, the high frequencies are easier to hear. So if we add distortion to this sine wave, I'm gonna go to Effects and I'm gonna go to Distortion and I'm gonna crank it up. Automatically we can hear it clearly. So let me show you what that wave looks like. So I'm going to add Span. This is a plugin by Voxengo. It's just a frequency analyzer. It doesn't do anything to the sound. It just lets you see the frequencies. So if I play a single note, that's what it looks like. It's a single frequency. That's why you can see only one spike in the graph. And the high notes are easier to hear. So let's pick a note. Let's pick that C. That's what it looks like. Maybe you're able to hear that with headphones, maybe not. Let's turn on the distortion. Now it looks like that. You can see many spikes in the graph. When you add distortion to a sound, what you're doing is you're adding harmonics. I'm not going to go into what harmonics are, but basically those are other frequencies on top of that frequency. Most sounds in the universe are made out of many frequencies stacked on top of each other. When you play a note on a piano, when you play a C, it's a C, but it's also an E, and it also has a G and another C. It has many frequencies, not just a single one. The only way to have a single isolated frequency is with a sine wave. But if you add distortion, you start adding those harmonics. And those harmonics are higher frequencies, which are easier to hear. There's that note again. I think it's higher actually. Whatever, it's a C. You can see the single note. We distort it. And now we have a bunch of higher frequencies that make it easier to hear that frequency. Let's now visualize that original thing that we were trying to recreate. After the EQ, it looked like this. And then I added the distortion. So it's going up to 1000 Hertz. 1K is a lot easier to distinguish than, 30, 50 Hertz. So that's how I figured it out. I was like, okay, if I EQ out everything but the bass, I'll have that 20 to 100, 120 Hertz frequency range. But then if I distort that, I'll be adding those higher frequencies, those harmonics that will make it easier to distinguish that low end. It's a pretty nifty technique that works really well actually. And that's it. That's my little trick to hear the bass in any song more easily. I hope you learned something in this video. If you did, if you have any other tricks or if you think this could be improved upon, please let me know down in the comments. Also, I'm planning on starting to make a Studio One course. This is the software that I've spent most of my time in my life with, so I know it pretty well. Right now I'm a little rusty because I haven't used it in a while, but I'm getting back into it and I want to show you guys all the tricks, all the basics, and I think it's a really cool program to start with especially. So if you would be interested in a course on how to use Studio One, please let me know in the comments. And whatever specific things you might want to see in the course or just in future videos about Studio One or any music related topics, please let me know in the comments what you would like to see. If you would like to download my free PDF guide for how to mix vocals, I'll have a link down in the description, and it's free. If you like this video, please give it a like and consider subscribing. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.